What is up, guys? Welcome back to another tier list. This is going to be for the Paladins Season 5 Schism tier list, whatever you want to call it. You guys know the deal. I've been doing these tier lists for quite a while now, so if you guys like these types of videos, let me know by leaving a like on this video. That'd be really cool. Let's see if we can get this video to 25 likes within the first 2 days of this video being up. If that's the case, I'll keep bringing you guys these tier list videos. Share the video, subscribe if you are new. Like, for some reason, a lot of you guys aren't subscribed that watch these videos, missing out on a bunch of stuff. But that being said, we're going to get right into this. If you guys do not know as well, I do stream, and you happen to be new, I do stream the game, I do stream ranked. We're going to be doing some custom games as well, stuff like that as well. I stream the game and stream other stuff as well, like Smite and Apex Legends, a few other stuff, at least 4 or 5 times a week. So if you do not want to miss that, subscribe as well. That'd be really cool. Let's get right into this. It's going to be the same tier list, as like the same format as last season, but completely clean slate, not taking any consideration into from last season, stuff like that. So we do have some new stuff, which I'll be talking about in a bit. Check the description, guys. I'll be writing down there. I'll also probably be doing timestamps. We'll see how it goes, how long this video goes, but more than likely there'll be timestamps down in the description down below. Check out the description. I'll be writing everything down there and giving you guys the gist and stuff like that. And for you guys that are new, just kind of an overall description of stuff like that. So without further ado, let's get right into this damn tier list already. Okay, so as this tier is the stuff you're going to be banning. S tier is stuff that's going to be really, really good and you're going to be picking the majority of your games. A plus is your above average. A is just your average. B is kind of below average. C is pretty situational. D is the stuff that you're borderline throwing with, apart from maybe like one specific situation or like one specific time. And then F tier is your probably Moji tier. It actually might not be Moji tier this time because there's some really bad champions in the game right now. There might actually be an extra F tier. We'll see how it goes and how I'm feeling, if I'm feeling feisty. So keep in mind as well, there's going to be a ranked console tier list. It's going to be from your low tier gold all the way up to your mid tier diamonds, stuff like that, and your higher tier diamond games. So console tier list, keep that in mind. Does not mean stuff in this video will not apply to PC and anything else. But there's a console tier list. Like I said, I'm a console player. I've got like almost 5,500, like getting close to 6,000 hours into the game now. So. And I do play on console from all those hours on console. So let's get right into this. We'll start out with 7. Brand new champion. He's not in ranked right now, but if he was able to be put into ranked, I think 7 right now, I'm going to have to put him at like probably around, I don't know, I put him at like an A plus tier. I think 7's really good. I think 7 is actually really good. And once people start learning how to play him, he's going to be insanely good. I think he's going to actually need to be nerfed. I really do. His burst damage is insane at like all ranges. He does way too much damage for a flank. I can tell you that right now. He has pretty much everything you want out of a flank. He has insane damage. He has probably some of the best mobility in the game out of any flank in the game, which is insane. You have 3 different ways to do damage. You can mag dump somebody, just walk up to somebody and fucking one tap them. And pretty much any squishy in the game, as long as you're pretty much like right within like melee range, pretty much. You can pretty much walk up to him and pretty much one clip dumpster somebody, which is crazy. I think the only thing that's probably like the worst thing about him is his ult. I really do. Like his ult, it gets blocked by pretty much everything. It gets blocked by shields. It gets blocked by deployables. People can run away from it because it takes, I think you have to wait for like 3 seconds. And have to have somebody in your sights for like a few seconds for it to actually be able to activate. I think he does need a nerf, though. I do think once people start getting better with him, like right now, you guys, the majority of the Vatus you're probably seeing your games are probably just kind of average or probably awful. But I do think he's going to be needing to be nerfed once people start knowing how to play him. Give it a couple weeks, and he's probably going to be one of those champions that's going to be one of them that's probably going to be receiving nerf. I do think he's a little bit overtuned, especially with a lot of his loadout cards right now. You run, like, I think there's, all of his talents are good, but I think the best one is the mobility one. That gives you, like, I think a 35% decreased cooldown on your dash, and it drops bombs from where you land and where you start at. That one, I forgot what the name of it is right now, but his mobility talent, like that's the best talent for him right now. It clearly is. That's going to be needing to be nerfed. I think with Chronos 3 and I think with loadout cards, I think your dash, I think is on like a 2-second cooldown or something. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy how much mobility he has. You stack Illuminate into him, and Illuminate really doesn't do much. You can just kind of play around it because you can pretty much latch on into anywhere. If somebody has Illuminate 1 or 2, you just latch on to pretty much somewhere like close to the skybox, and they won't be able to see you anyways. So it just doesn't matter. Like Illuminate's good for when he's close to you, but it's not really a counter to him. That's the problem. So if you got a good 7, like he's not going to sit right in front of you on the wall and just wait for you like right in front of you on a wall to where you can see him with Illuminate anyways. You're going to be playing around the people that have Illuminate. You're always going to be out of range just slightly of what Illuminate really gives you, and that's the advantage he has because Illuminate doesn't really check him. So overall, just crazy mobility, crazy damage numbers. I think the weakest stuff about him, though, I think is definitely his ult and probably his automatic stance. I think automatic is pretty bad. But apart from that, he has insanely good loadout cards. He has a ton of good loadout cards. A lot of good item options. You stack Chronos, you stack Haven, you can stack Life Rip and get away with it really well. There's a lot of item options. Not having to buy Cauterize is insanely good. There you go. But overall, if I were to drop him into ranked right now, as is on the patch that he is being released into the game, I'd put him in an A+. I think he's probably going to end up going up and probably rising, at least with how people play him and how good he's going to be getting with people getting better at playing him. I think he actually is better than what you guys are probably running into and seeing right now. But overall, that's where I put him. Keep in mind as well, like major stuff for this patch, they actually removed Cauterize out of the game. Cauterize is no longer a thing, and they actually added a new item called Provision, which actually pretty much gives you like a percentage based of like ammo refund if you get an elimination or a kill, and it works as like a percentage thing. So that kind of replaced Cauterize in the item store. To keep that in mind as well. And there was some item changes, some like numbers why it's not going to go into them. Overall, like the biggest change, Azzan added into ranked as well, which we're going to talk about in about 10 seconds. And then we got Cauterize being completely removed from the game and actually being put into everybody's in-hand weapons and it being scaled over the match. So now let's talk about Azzan because it's really funny. Azzan actually is not even in ranked right now. He was supposed to be in ranked, but what I was told, depending on when you're seeing this video, it might have already changed. But what I was told is that Azzan is actually bugged, and they're actually waiting for a hotfix. There's supposed to be a hotfix, not this next week, but 2 weeks from now from when I'm recording this. I'm recording this on Friday. He's actually supposed to be put into ranked with a hotfix patch that's supposed to be going live in about 2 weeks. So he currently is not in ranked because he's currently bugged. There's a bug that they want to fix with him. At least that's what I've heard and what I was told. I don't know if that's the case or not, but take it with a grain of salt. I don't know if that's an excuse or I don't know if that's legit or not, but for some reason right now, at least when I'm recording this, and depends on when you're seeing this, he actually is not in ranked. For some reason, you cannot even play him in ranked. He's not even there. So, even though he's supposed to be there this patch, he's been in the game for, I think, like 2 months now. So, an entire patch, and it's usually the patch afterward that the newer champions go into ranked. So, I don't know why he's not there. But overall, I think Azzan right now, still crazy. I think he's crazy. I think he's going to be one of the champions that you actually ban. I think out of the tanks, he's probably one of the must-ban tanks. He's gotten nerfed. I think he's gotten nerfed for a hotfix, and I think he's gotten nerfed now. I think, was it 2 patches with some really substantial nerfs. I think it's going to take probably another patch of like really heavy nerfs to actually bring him in line with pretty much the rest of the game. He's just crazy. Azzan was one of those champions, and it's probably one of those champions. It's probably going to be one of the most broken ones ever on release, probably the entire history of the game. He actually even broke the game, which is crazy. He was the most broken champion on release, and he actually broke the entire game. So he made the records 2 times instead of 1. Just crazy mobility, insane ult, insane damage for a tank. Like, he does fucking crazy damage for a tank. What other tank does like 500 damage per auto? It's crazy. I think it's almost 600 damage, and that's not even with it being boosted with your passive. It's just crazy. And now that not having to buy Cauterize, like you can just go right into a Chronos. So technically, item wise, he actually got better because you don't have to buy Cauterize now out of spawn. You can just go right into a Chronos, right into a Haven, right into a Nimble, right into a Veteran. Like, you can build all these other items now, even like a Resilience, if you're going against a bunch of CC. So even with Cauterize being removed, he even got better that way. So he's just crazy. He's still overbuffed for a tank, and he's way overtuned. I think it's going to take another patch of like pretty substantial nerfs to actually bring him in line. I think when he does get put into ranked, whether it's soon or whether it's like a month from now or like 2 weeks when the hotfix goes live, he's going to be one of the tanks that you actually do want to ban. I wholeheartedly believe that, and I think that's going to be the case. You do not want to play against him. He's still a fucking pain in the ass to play against. He really is. And he still pretty much feels like the before. He got nerfed this patch, and he still pretty much feels the same. I really don't even notice any changes at all. And I've been playing the absolute shit out of the game for like the last 3 days, just so I can bring you guys a tier list for this. So, just crazy right now. He's insane. Up next, we got Androxus. Man, Androxus, I don't know. I think Androxus is really good. I'm gonna put on S tier. I don't think he's changed much. Not having to build Cauterize is a little bit better, but it's not really that much better because you don't really build Wrecker, and there's not really any other items that you're gonna really build apart from like Haven and Nimble, maybe Chronos, and then maybe like Veteran. Because the go-to items right now, if you're not building Wrecker, it's Haven and it's Veteran. So if you don't really build those, there's not really much else. I mean, I guess there's other items that are still really good, like Nimble's insanely good. You can run Morale Boost, Mastery Riding, stuff like that. But overall, I still think Andrew's like one of the best flanks in the game. Insane damage numbers, even though not much has really changed. You can't really build Provision because you don't get enough ammo back to make it really worth a tier 3. And I think once you get a tier 3 back, I think you get like 2 or 3 ammo back, which just isn't enough. And it's not worth running a tier 3 of that item just for that. So I thought the new item was going to be good on him. It's not. It's not really good at all. You're better off just running loadout cards if you want ammo and just try to get ammo regen from loadout cards, or just spending a tier 3 item from the shop. Just insane mobility, really good damage. I think he's just still really solid. Andros is really solid. He's even a ban on some maps. Like, I would ban him on some maps versus on like Stone Keep, Jag Falls. There's a few other maps that he's really good on. Splitstone, he's really good on. Overall, just like your definition of a really, really good flank, but I wouldn't say he's absolutely busted because he does take skill to play. You're going to see him in your higher tier games a lot more than your mid tiers, but if you can play him in your mid tier games, you can still pub stomp and just destroy lobbies, just because you're walking around pretty much headshotting people for 900 damage with Curse Revolver, which it still is. I don't know how that's even a thing, and that has not changed yet over the span of how many patches we've been talking about that every tier list. It's crazy good right now. Still going to be the same. I'm putting him S tier. He is bannable, and he's worthy of a ban on some maps, and he is justifiable of a ban if you really want to ban him, but he's overall really good if you can play him. Up next, we got Ashe. Ashe is just, I don't know. I'm going to put her at average. I feel like there's just nothing making her better than an average right now. Yeah, she has Cauterize, but like apart from that, like what else does she have now? You can build Haven, you can build Veteran, and then I don't know, like maybe Resilience, maybe Nimble, maybe Chronos. She doesn't really have much that you can really build, even with the removal of Cauterize. I don't know. I just feel like she needs some buffs. I think she needs a slight damage buff. I really do. I feel like everybody's changing, like all the tanks and the entire game is changing around her, and she's kind of just left in the dust. That's what I feel like Ashe is kind of struggling with right now. I don't know. I don't really know where to put her. I'm going to put her in A tier because I think she is average at least, and there's a lot of other worse tanks in the game right now. Torvald. Oh, I kind of choked there. I kind of had a little bit of a hiccup there. I'm sorry about that, guys. But yeah, there are a lot of worse tanks in the game. I'm just going to put her in A tier. I'm not going to talk about her very much because nothing with her has really changed. Nothing with her has really changed at all. So next we got Atlas. I think Atlas is S tier. Probably one of the best off tanks in the game, and he even got better with the removal of Cauterize, because before you would have to stack Cauterize, you'd have to make the debate to whether either to stack Cauterize as a first item out of the store or Chronos. Now you can just go right into a Chronos, which is crazy. Chronos on Atlas is great just because you're always spamming your cooldowns, and being able to stack that earlier in the match over Cauterize and not having to make that decision is huge. Overall, it's still really good damage. Like, he's great. If you know how to play Atlas, pick him up and you can still do really good. I would not play him as a point tank, but he's probably one of the best off tanks in the game. I wouldn't say he's worth a ban on console. I really wouldn't, but I think he's still really, really good. And he's definitely one of, like, the top tier tanks that you're going to be looking at for, like, an off tank. Just really good right now. Just really, really solid. Especially with, he even got better. Like, that's the main reason he even got better, is just the removal of Cauterize, just being able to stack whatever you want out of spawn. Chronos, Haven, Resilience if you're going against a lot of CC, which is really good. Stuff like that. Nimble. I don't know. It just kind of comes down to what you want to build, but overall it's insanely good right now. Barik actually got nerfed. I think he got nerfed. I think he might have got nerfed this patch. Like, nothing with him's really changed. I'm telling you guys right now, nothing with Barik's really changed. He's going to S tier. Probably one of the best point tanks in the game still. Nothing with him's changed at all. You kind of look at this patch and you kind of look at last patch from where I've put him, and nothing with him's changed really at all. I think he might have got nerfed. I'm not 100% sure. I think they might have nerfed his health. I think that's what they did. Nothing's really changed. And now, instead of having to stack Cauterize, you can just go right into a Chronos or like a Veteran or a Haven, which is huge for him as well. So, or a Rejuvenate, which is really good. Not much was changed. Solid S tier though. Probably one of the best tanks. You can actually even run him as like an off tank as well, which is really cool. Up next we got Bomb King. I don't know, if this was a PC tier list, I'd probably put Bomb King at like an S tier, but this is a console tier list. I'm putting him at a C tier yet again. No Cauterize for him means that you can buy different items, Nimble, like whatever you want, Nimble. I mean, I guess if you want to run Deft Hands, you can. There's a few other options. Like, I don't think he really builds anything else insanely well, though, to where it's like game breaking and that it's a huge change for him. He builds Wrecker pretty good. And overall, for like a blast, like I think on console, he just takes too much skill to play. If you can play Bomb King really good, you can carry games with him. But the problem with Bomb King is the majority of the Bomb Kings I see in my ranked games, especially in your mid-tier ranked games, which is where most players usually are, like your low-tier gold up to like mid-tier, high-tier plat, around that range is where the majority of players do play and are ranked. He just doesn't do anything. People just feed on him. Like, that's the problem with him on console. People just either don't know how to play against him, or he just gets completely just like torn apart because people just don't know how to play him, and he just ends up feeding. I don't know. At least even for like me, like I can barely play him, and the only time I can play him is with like an accelerant build and just rely off of like Grumpy Bomb Stuns to do anything. Because I'm even me, like I'm not even that good with him. So, but if you can play a really good Bomb King, he's still insanely good. But the only reason I'm putting him at a C tier is because you don't see enough good Bomb Kings, and there's just a lot easier stuff to play, at least for blasters on console, that you can get a lot more value out of right now than playing Bomb King and just having to sit and learn Bomb King, or having to sit and work and make Bomb King work when you can just pick something else that's way easier to play and arguably does the same or more value. You just get the same amount of stuff out of them. So, Buck, oh man, I think Buck right now is probably one of the worst characters in the game. This is probably one of the biggest changes out of the patch. We're gonna be into this tier list. Buck is legit almost borderline F tier. There is one thing that I'm gonna put Buck above an F tier for, and that's just because I think he can pub stomp lower tier ranked games. I really can. Apart from that, like I'm talking your really low tier games. I'm talking like your gold 5 to like gold 3 games. Buck sucks right now. The huge change that made Buck really, really bad is everybody in their mother, including supports and stuff that usually doesn't even build Cauterize until like probably late game, have Cauterize now. Because everybody has Cauterize. The biggest part of your kit is being able to fully self-sustain. You can't do that mid-fight because everybody's constantly shooting at you. You're going to get hugely targeted. You cannot do any poke damage because you have none. You have to get up to somebody in their face to do your full amounts of damage, and if you do not kill somebody, you are more than likely dead. I think Buck is legit trash right now, and he is really bad. He needs some major buffs. He is really bad. He actually got buffs with some loadout cards, but the loadout cards that they buffed for him just don't do anything. They were already bad the way they are, and they buffed the loadout cards that were just garbage, and still nobody's building the loadout cards that he got buffed with for this patch because they're just filler cards at best. So that's the problem with him right now. I think he's just really bad. You can't do any poke damage. He has no poke damage. You can't do any damage unless you're right up in somebody's face, and if that's the case, if you get 2v1'd and somebody actually turns around and looks at you, they're going to shoot at you, and if you don't get a kill and be able to jump away in time, you're usually dead. It's either kill or be killed, or if you can't kill something, you go in and you can't kill something, you're dead every time, because you have no recovery because everybody has cauterized, and you just can't get away. That's the problem. Everybody else does a lot of damage right now, too. There's a lot of champions in the game right now that do a lot more damage than you, that a lot more freely, and can just poke from range and do a shit ton of damage. You can't do anything from range. Like, he's just really bad. He is really bad. Like, I cannot stress enough, guys, like, how Buck, over the span of probably this patch, from going from last patch to this patch, how bad he's gotten just with one simple change, and that's cauterize. Just getting taken out of the item store and putting it into everybody's base weapons and letting everybody have that. Awful. Like I said, the only reason I'm not moving him into an F tier because I really genuinely think he's probably F tier worthy, arguably. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below with this entire tier list and everything else. But like he does pub stomp your low tier ranks. If you know how to play him, you can kind of still get away with him if you play him really well. But apart from that, I think he's awful. Once you get past gold 3, if you can pick probably any other flank in the game apart from Moji and do better, he is trash. I think he needs some major buffs or even like some minor reworks this next patch. Next we got Cassie. I'm putting Cassie up in S tier. I think Cassie right now is the best projectile champion in the game. With Exaction and with Chronos 3, you stack Chronos right out of spawn. I think she's just probably like one of the best DPS characters in the game, if I'm being honest as well. Even for console. Like if this was PC, I'd probably put her at SS tier, because I think she's probably crazy on PC now. She's probably the best projectile on console. If you guys are not playing Cassie, go into the firing range, go into the training range, or go into bots and start practicing Cassie, because if you can play a really good Cassie, even like an average Cassie, you can just do really well. She is crazy right now. She has 3 viable talents. You stack Chronos out of spawn. You just stack Chronos up to a 3 with Exaction, and if you have a loadout card that gives you, I think it's 4 seconds off of your dodge roll. With Chronos 3, you have a 1 second dodge roll. That is crazy. So you hit somebody, land a shot, get the reset on your dodge roll down to 1 second with Chronos 3, blast shot them, and then you roll again and do another 800 burst damage, which is crazy. She is probably one of the best DPS in the game right now. I think as for like, at least for the projectiles, she's probably the best one. She has a really good ult still, which is always consistent. It may not seem to do much, but having a reveal, still really good, especially on like the point fights where everybody's running from spawn and to give you an early advantage on a point fight. Still really good. Really, really good. I don't know if they're going to nerf her. I wouldn't be surprised if she actually gets nerfed because people on PC are going to actually probably really complain about her. I'm assuming if she's this good on console, she's probably like 10 times as good on PC, which has always been the case. And she's probably going to end up getting nerfed in the future. Hopefully that's not the case, because I actually love playing Cassie, and actually being able to play her on console now feels great. If only she can get a skin, because it's going on almost, like, I think 4 years now, 4.5 years, where she has not been able to have a skin. Hopefully she can get a skin sometime in the near future, but I'm probably just wishing upon a star for that one. We'll probably have another 10 Ying skins, another 10 Maeve skins. We'll probably get another Khan, and probably another Io skin or something crazy like the rest of the year, and Cassie go another year without not even having a skin, but that's an entirely different video. Overall, just play Cassie. Best projectile in the game. There you go. Corvus. Corvus is great right now. I think Corvus right now, if you want to support, he's great. I think the one thing that changed with supports right now, and you guys are going to see a huge theme for this tier list, is not really like raw healing numbers, but it's the supports that bring utility as well. That is not affected by resilience. So Stuff like movement speed, stuff like lifesteal, shields are also still really good, which I guess Wrecker also got buffed, but I think shields are a lot better than, like, I don't know, a lot better than stuff that gets affected by resilience, if I'm being honest. Corvus has lifesteal and loadout cards. You can give people small shields, you give people slight DR, I think it's like 10% DR, 5% DR for like 3 seconds. With loadout cards, you can give somebody a small shield. Overall, it's really good. He has an insanely good ult. He does really good damage. He does everything you want out of a support right now. I would not put him higher than an S tier. He's not ban worthy, but he pairs with a lot of stuff really well. He does really good healing numbers, whether that's with Dark Gifts or whether that's with Spreading Influence. Both are really good. He plays and fits right into a double support comp, which is probably the best comp right now. Believe it or not, guys, they took Cauterized out of the game, and double support is probably the best comp in the game again to run. So pluck him, you take him, you pick him, you put him on pretty much any comp, and he works on pretty much any team with pretty much almost any comp. Really safe to play, really good damage. Like, he has everything you want. He's kind of just a jack of all trades. He has everything you need out of a support right now. Solid heals, he has utility with lifesteal, like all the stuff I said. Really solid damage, really solid ult, really good survivability. Like, he's everything you want out of a support right now is Corvus. I'm putting my S tier. You're going to be seeing him in a lot of your games, and if you're not picking him, if you do not know how to play him, pick up Corvus and start learning how to play him, because he's going to be really good, and he is really good. Dredge, this one's huge. I think Dredge is probably, I don't know, you can argue probably first or second best blaster in the game right now for console. I'd probably say the top blaster, like AoE blaster for the game. Dredge not having to build Cauterize means you can actually go into deft hands out of spawn and actually not be mad about it, because you're passing up Cauterize, which is huge. And you can go right into a Wrecker if you want as well, not have to worry about skipping deft hands like later on in the game. So he's really good. I think Dredge, if you want a really good blaster right now, I think Dredge works on the majority of the maps. Bright Marsh, Stone Keep, like the majority of the maps in the rank rotation, apart from maybe 2 or 3, I think he works on pretty much all those maps. If you know how to play him, he is really difficult to dive if you do know what you're doing. If you don't, then you're kind of just a sitting duck and you'll get eaten alive by a lot of the flanks right now. But if you know what you're doing, you are really difficult to dive. Like, shits out damage, just absolutely shits out damage. Huge AoE area of denial. Like, he just has everything you want out of a blaster, and he got buffed because now you don't have to worry about skipping up Cauterize and skipping on Cauterize out of spawn, and you can just go right into either a Wrecker or you can go right into a Deft Hands, which Dredge really likes. So there you go. Not really much has changed from last patch. If anything, he's gotten even a little bit better. Now we have the next blaster in the game, which can arguably probably be the... Who knew, guys? Who knew I was going to put Drogoz at an S tier for this patch? I think I had him at like an A tier, an A plus tier for last patch. One simple change of getting Cauterized out of the item store and giving it to him at base made Drogoz that much better. You can now right off with Drogoz, like that. I think the huge thing for him now is if the enemy team does not have hit scan, he actually is really good, because you can stack either Nimble, you can stack Haven out of spawn. There's a lot of other item options that Drogoz has in its arsenal now that you can actually use over Cauterize out of spawn, which is huge. Chronos, Deft Hands. The main one I think is really huge for him is Nimble or Haven. And then you got Morale Boost, like whatever you really want. If you can stack out of spawn, he builds Wrecker really good. He does a lot of Wrecker damage to shields. I think he's really good. I think if it comes down to if you want a blaster on your team, either you pick Dredge or Drogoz. I think if they have a lot of hit scan, you pick Dredge if you're looking for a blaster. If they have nothing to take you out of the sky and they have no hit scan at all, which is kind of rare on console because hit scan's almost on every team, then you pick Drogoz. That's what it comes down to right now. He's still just as good as he was last patch, but even better with not having to build Cauterized, which is a huge, huge change for Drogoz. I cannot stress it enough. He feels great to play right now. He feels really good. If you haven't played Drogoz for Season 5 yet, go check out Drogoz and play Drogoz. I think he's really underrated. And he can definitely destroy versus certain teams that do not have anything to take him out of the sky. If you do not have enough hit scan and you do not have a specific check for him to take him out of the sky, especially on some of his good maps like Serpent Beach, Bright Marsh, Stone Keep, Split Stone, he's great on. Like, there's a lot of maps he's good on. If you don't have a check for him, he just kind of runs the game if you know what you're doing, so. Evie got buffed this patch. Some loadout cards that she never builds got buffed, and she's still kind of just in the same spot. Yeah, it's cool not having to build Cauterize out of spawn. You can actually build other stuff like Haven, Veteran, Chronos, stuff like that. But at the same time, like I don't think it's really that major of a buff for her. It's always going to be console. If this was like a PC tier list, I'd probably put her like an A+ or an S tier. On console, you just don't see enough Evies that are actually good and actually do anything to justify putting her higher. That's my problem with her. If you can play an insanely good Evie for like an Evie main that has like level 150 or whatever, and you do nothing but play Evie, by all means play her. She's not bad at all. But the problem why I'm not going to put her higher, similar to BK, is because it's console and you don't see anybody that plays Evie good enough to the point where you're just not better off just playing something else that's easier to play, and you can just get as much, just like the same amount, if not more, value out of just playing something else that's easier to play. So, kind of where she is right now. Fernando. I can tell you guys right now, Fernando is no longer worth a ban. I'm putting Fernando at an A+ tier. I think Fernando is still good, but I do not think Fernando is worth a ban anymore. I think Fernando's last patch is being banned a lot. He is no longer worth a ban. He really is not. You can ban him. Like, I still do ban Fernando just because he's really annoying to play against. And I'd rather play against other tanks than Fernando because he just holds up a shield for like the first 10 to 12 minutes of the game until people start getting like Record 2, Record 3 online. But he got heavily nerfed this patch, and he's gotten nerfed, I think, the last 2 patches. I think he's just A+ tier. He's still a really good point tank, but I don't think there's any reason to play him as like an off tank. The only reason you pick up a Fernando is as like a point tank. There's a lot better off tanks in the game, and even arguably like point tanks. I would not say, I think Barik's actually better than Fernando right now, if I'm being honest. But that's kind of just where he is. Not really much with him has changed. Kind of the same as last patch, apart from him getting nerfed, and not really needing to be a ban in every single one of your games, just with how annoying he is to play against. Even though you can still ban him, he still is kind of annoying at the start of the game, which is kind of why I ban him sometimes. It just depends on what you're playing and what your team has as well. That's what you got to take into consideration. Furia. They buff Furia, and I think she's probably one of the best healers in the game. Furia's going to S tier. She is going to S tier. You cannot deny Furia is great right now. I think the only major problem is with Furia that you're going to find in your games. If you're playing solo queue ranked, people aren't going to stay out of Cauterize. You're going to get no value out of your Cherish or out of your heals. I still think she does a shit ton of heals for a support, and she probably has the best support ult in the game that is not affected by resilience and not affected by anything. You get damage boost and you get a movement speed boost that you cannot counter. The enemy team just has to wait it out or just play right into it, and you get played right into. Probably one of the best support ults in the game, if not the best support ult. Like that alone, that's kind of why I put her S tier. Got buffed. Cherish got buffed up to 18%. It was 15. Now it's up to 18. It got nerfed from 20 in the PTS. Solar Blessing is still good with certain like double tank comps. Still really solid. I think she's just really what you want out of a support right now. If you're going to be seeing a lot of Furia in your games, if you want a really solid support right now, you're looking at Furia. She's really, really good. Just based off of her ult alone, I think her ult is probably the best thing about her right now. And then it kind of, her heals are good. Just don't run Exterminate, please. For the love of gosh, if you're playing ranked, as a solo healer, do not play Exterminate, please. If you play Exterminate in your ranked games as a solo support, you are throwing and you deserve to be fucking mass reported by your team and the enemy team. Please. Just don't do that in your ranked games and you'll be fine. Pick Cherish or pick Solar Blessing and stay away from Exterminate unless you're on a double support comp that actually calls for that, please. Do not throw your ranked games and do not throw my ranked games with that. Thank you. Grohk. This might actually be the first time I think Moji has actually had competition in F tier. I am genuinely being 100% real with you guys right now. I don't think there's ever been a patch where I think there's been a champion on the level of Moji to the point where they're absolutely fucking useless and they just don't do anything, let alone have any reason why they need to actually be picked or played at all. This is the first tier list, I don't know how many tier lists I've done now, at least in the last 2 years, that I think I've ever put in another champion along with Moji in F tier. Grohk right now is the definition of a fucking failure. He sucks. Grohk sucks. And don't tell me that there's a reason to pick damage Grohk because you can just pick something else and do way better. There's no reason to pick damage Grohk. There's no reason to pick him as a solo support, let alone in a double support comp. He's garbage. He brings nothing to a team. Your ult, you get shot out of the sky. Everybody having cauterized right now, his ult is garbage. His ult went from being decent to being absolutely fucking useless. Your totems either get destroyed or you don't do enough heals with your totems and you have to have your team grouped up in one area, which is never going to happen unless you're playing in a 5-stack to get heals. It's not going to work. If you're playing your solo queue ranked games and you throw a totem down, nobody's going to sit and stand on a totem. I'm sorry. Nobody's going to sit and stand on a totem until they get fully healed. I'm sorry. That's not how it's worked. That's not going to be how it works. I'm sorry. You throw out an ult and you try to do something with your ult. The entire team looks at you and you get targeted down during your ult because everybody has cauterized, including the supports now, which is huge. Everybody shoots at you during your ult, and the only thing you really get from your ult is a movement speed boost. You don't get any heals, and you don't do really much damage to justify getting killed most of the time with it. I think it's at the point right now where I think Grohk needs an entire rework. He really does. He is probably I would say probably the second worst champion in the game. I think still Moji is worse than her, or worse than him. I almost call it, like him, her, who cares? Him, her, who cares? It doesn't matter now. I don't know. I think he's just awful. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. But every time I've seen a Grohk, and I've even played Grohk so far for the new patch for Season 5, I feel like I'm just fucking useless. Like, I feel like I do nothing. You have no damage, you have no heals, your ult is garbage. It went from being decent to being, like, absolutely legit useless. I don't know. They've even buffed Totemic Ward this patch, and I think he's somehow even worse. Awful. I think Grohk needs an entire rework. I really do. The first time I've ever put in a champion in the same tier as Moji, and that is legit like a feat in and of itself. If Grohk wants an award, please, you know where I am. Come and get your silver medal for being the first ever champion to be in the same tier as Moji, please. Garbage. Do not play Grohk as a double support in a double support comp, let alone as a solo healer. If you want to go into ranks and you want to lose your games, you play Grohk as a solo support. That is one way to get down to bronze tier and actually D-rank. If you pick Grohk in your ranked games, let alone even as a solo support, you are asking to be fucking reported and mass reported by your team. And I would not be surprised if you actually get banned over it because that's how bad he is right now. He is legit a throw pick. Grohk is a throw pick, similar to Moji. Even though I think Moji's worse, I think Grohk is legit a throw. If you pick Grohk in any instance in your games, he is a throw pick. And you are legit asking to lose. He is one of the champions right now that you are picking to go out of your way just to lose. Awful. Up next, we got Grover. Let's get it actually back to the supports that actually do something. Let's put Grover right back into S tier, rightfully so, where he belongs. Nothing with Grover has really changed, apart that he actually gets cauterized now, which he doesn't have to worry about building, and he can still build Chronos out of spawn. So if anything, he's even better than last patch. There you go. Really simple explanation for Grover, because nothing with him has actually really changed, apart from him actually getting cauterized now as a support, which before he would never really have cauterized until like maybe a third or a fourth item, if you were lucky. There you go. Really good. Still insanely good. I think Grover is still probably one of the best healers in the game. He really is. Up next, we got Imani. I'm going to put Imani at a... I feel like Imani's kind of fallen off, if I'm being honest, guys. I feel like Imani's kind of fallen off. I really have. I think Cassie is the better projectile than her now. I'm going to put her at A+ tier. I think I had Imani at S tier last patch. I think she's kind of fallen off slightly. It's good not having to build Cauterize. You build Wrecker still really well for a projectile champion. Like, you're really easy to play. I think the one thing that kind of makes her worse, though, is that everybody can just build Bulldozer now. Everybody can build Bulldozer a lot easier, which before you wouldn't have to, you'd have maybe one person building Bulldozer for her ult. Now you have like 2 or 3 people picking up Bulldozer and your dragon's pretty much instantly deleted. So, I think that's the one thing that really makes her worse this patch, just everybody having more access to Bulldozer on the enemy team and being able to freely build that a lot easier. Apart from that, like, you can build Kronos out of spawn, which isn't really like a game breaker. I wouldn't say it's like a game breaker for like a Imani being able to build Kronos out of spawn over Cauterize. You can build everything else like Haven, Veteran, like whatever else you want, Resilience. Lifesteal's okay if you're running like a Fireball build or something like that, but I don't know, I feel like she's kind of just fallen off with how easy it is to stack Bulldozer and being able to open up an item slot for people to buy Bulldozer versus you. I think that's the main problem. That's why she's kind of fallen off. She's still really good, don't get me wrong, but I don't think she's on a tier of like a Cassie right now on console, which is it's crazy to say. I never thought a Cassie would be the best projectile on console up until now. It's crazy. Inara got buffed. She actually got buffed this patch. A tier. I just don't think there's anything about. She got buffed slightly. I think they gave her 30% rejuvenate in her base kit, and then they also gave her, I think it was either damage or if it was a little bit more like pre-fire time on her ult. A tier. Nothing with hers changed. Nothing with Inara's changed. She's kind of just your average point tank that doesn't really do much damage, but just kind of stands there. That's about it. Io. I'm putting Io S tier. I think Io is probably one of the best supports in the game. Fits great on a double support comp. I think the only two things about Io that are garbage are that her ult is really bad, and then I think Luna kind of feels a little bit underwhelming. But as for like utility, as like all the other supports bring here, whether it's an ultimate that gives you something that's utility, or like lifesteal or shields or DR, she gives you DR. You have movement speed options in your loadout cards, and you have a stun with Luna, so she has plenty of utility along with really solid heals. So there you go. That's what you want out of a support right now. And she's really easy to play, and everybody likes her. She's probably the most popular support in the game. So there you go. I still love Io, and she's probably my favorite support to play. I just wish her ultimate was better. I feel like her ult is just really bad. That's probably the worst thing about her. But apart from that, I think she's really solid. Even with the Cauterize changes, you can plug her in on pretty much almost any team, any comp, and even on like a double support comp, she works really well. As long as you run like DR, I think DR is probably her best talent right now with God's Blessing. You can get away with like running Luna heal talent, but I just don't think it's really that good with people just build Bulldozer without even thinking about it anymore because they can. You just don't get as much value out of that. I think you're better off having DR over having Luna heal somebody as like an off healer, and then getting destroyed with people that just stack Bulldozer versus you. So kind of where she is right now. Overall, really good though. Overall, really good. Jenos got buffed this patch. Jenos feels great. I'm putting Jenos at an A+ here. If Corvus is not available and you want a really similar healer, I think Jenos is what you pick. Jenos feels really good right now. He actually got buffed. They buffed, I think, Luminary, and they buffed his tick heals slightly. He feels really good to play. And he's not like a lot of the other supports that actually rely on your team to actually be out of Cauterize because it's constant tick heal. So you can kind of do whatever you want, and it comes down to what type of player that is actually being healed with your mark. If they want to stay out of Cauterize to get a full heal, and if they don't want to, they can still kind of fight, and they can still get a decent amount of heals at the same time. So it makes them kind of even better if you're just playing like your general ranked games, where you're playing with like brain dead losers the majority of the time. Just really good. I think Binary Star is good as well. I don't think Power Coliseum is as good just because everybody stacks Resilience out of spawn now, and you don't get as much value out of it. And it kind of falls off even more so early game. You have about 5 minutes until people start stacking Resilience too, and then that's about it. But if you want to run them as like a second support, I think on a double support, Binary Star is really good. But as a solo healer, he can actually keep a team fully sustained. He actually is pretty solid right now. I think he feels a lot better than last patch. Khan. And I'm putting Khan A+ here. I feel like the reason why Khan's kind of fallen off a little bit, he's not like the best off tank in the game anymore. If I want an off tank, I think I actually would play Atlas. I really would. I think he's the reason why I'm going to keep him at an A+ tier though. He's extremely easy to play, but I think he's kind of fallen off a little bit just because everybody just buys Wrecker into you now, and it's a lot harder to survive. If you don't have your shield up and you're caught out of position, like you're dead every time. It's a lot harder for you to survive when a lot more people are buying Wrecker into you. And before this patch, when people had to stack Cauterize at the start of the game, you had a lot more survivability because you didn't have to worry about people stacking Wrecker. And even now, like, a lot of people, even that normally don't even buy a Wrecker, will buy even like a tier 1 of Wrecker into you. And it makes you a lot harder to survive. You kind of just have to poke, and you kind of have to take your fights a lot more cautiously. You can't really just run around the map and just do whatever you want like you were last patch. But overall, still a really solid off tank. Has a really good ult, good on a lot of maps, Fish Market, Split Stone, stuff like that. Getting an automatic pick with your ult still really, really good. Kinessa is crazy. Kinessa is crazy right now. If it was not that she's only good on 3 maps, like I say this every single tier list, if Kinessa was not only good on like 3 maps, being like Fish Market, Frog Isle, and maybe like Splitstone and maybe like one other map, maybe Timbermill, I would probably put her at like S tier and probably even like ban-worthy. Kinessa's crazy. Not having to buy Cauterize, you go right into a Wrecker now with no questions asked. If the enemy team has a shield tank like a Fernando or a Khan or something like that, you go right into a Wrecker. You buy Haven, you buy Life Rip. She builds Life Rip really well. Morale boost, you get your ult insanely fast with a morale boost, tier 1 or tier 2. She has a lot of options right now. She's actually really, really good. Like I said, the only reason I'm not putting her higher than an A+, is because she's only really good on like 3 or 4 maps. If she was good on every single map, I'd put her at like no questions, probably one of the best DPS in the game. Crazy damage numbers as well right now too. Even with people buying Haven a lot more, with steady aim, you're getting that damage boost and you get headshot bonus, so it doesn't matter. That's one thing about her as well that's really good. We also got Koga. Koga's just your definition of a pub stomper. He really is. I'm going to only put him at an A tier because I do not think he's good at once you get to like your higher tier plat games. He's good in your middle tier ranked games up until around Platinum 3, and then that's kind of where he starts falling off. And I don't think really much has changed with him. Like, yeah, it's really good to not have to buy Cauterize with him now out of spawn. You can run like Nimble or like Life Rip or Haven or Veteran or even Wrecker if you really want to. He does build Wrecker decently well for a flank, which is really cool. But at the same time, everything else, you want to run like a lot of self-sustain in your kit, and he relies on a lot of his own self-sustain. And everybody else has Cauterize now too, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. You got a one-up, but at the same time, you kind of got everybody else is on like the same level. So I think he kind of is in the same spot as last patch. If they really want to make him good, get rid of his talents. Put Adrenaline Junkie, like a watered-down version, into his base kit and give us 3 new talents. Blood Reefer is awful. Dragon Fangs is really bad even now. Even more so now because everybody has Cauterize. You get no heals from like any of your loadout cards or anything you try to do with that type of build. I think he's just, apart from like your mid-tier ranked games, he's just not really that good. He falls off pretty harshly. If you're getting around Plat 3 and above, that's the problem with him. But apart from that, like in your mid-tier, like your low-tier gold games, I would even say sometimes even ban him because he's really annoying to play against. You may know how to play against him, but your teammates will just get farmed by him. Similar to Sky, same thing. Up next, we got Lex. Oh man, has Lex changed? Same. He's the same as last patch. I'll actually put him in S tier. I think he's broken. I think Lex is fucking broken still. Now he doesn't even have to build Cauterize. So if you want to pick Lex, you can either go into a Wrecker, or you can go into a Nimble 2 out of spawn, a Haven, a Veteran, or even like a Life Rip or stuff like that. Or even like a Deft Hands, which is good. I think Lex is still... The main thing about Lex is Discovery needs to be nerfed. His other talents are okay, but I think Discovery, the reason why you pick Discovery, he just does too much damage. Lex does just fucking crazy damage numbers for a flank, and you pair that with an execute that you can just pretty much execute anything you want, or just like get rid of a huge shield like a Barik Dome shield or like a shield and get a huge kill on like a tank just off of one button. That's crazy. I think he's still ban worthy in the majority of your games. I really do. I think I would ban a Lex the majority of the time over an Andro because I see more Lexes in my games that just steamroll and run the game than I do Andros in your mid-tier ranked games, at least for right now. And I think that's kind of always going to be how it is. Even though he may not have much mobility, he just does too much damage, and people just don't know how to deal with him when he just runs at you. People don't know how to react. That's the problem. I just wish they would nerf Discovery and they just gave him no nerfs at all, which is crazy. I think he just does way too much damage for a flank. I really do. I really do. Lian. I'm putting Lian in A+ tier. I don't think she is as good as she was last patch, and the real reason why I think she's kind of fallen off is because everybody buys Haven. You're only doing 400 with your autos anyways, and you take that into consideration with people stacking Haven 2 and 3, you're only doing like 325, 340 damage, something around there, with people having Haven 3, and that's not with headshots. Headshots, you're around about 500, something around there, I think. But like, which is your based autos. She's kind of fallen off. I think the reason why she's not as good is because everybody stacks Haven. She doesn't really do the most damage to begin with, and now you have people buying Haven and even like Veteran. It kind of spells disaster for her. I wouldn't say she's garbage because she still has insane burst damage. If you know what you're doing, like you can just steamroll and carry a game, especially versus like people that don't know how to play the game, especially in like your mid-tier ranked games if you know how to play her. But I don't think she's as good as last patch. I really don't. And there's a lot better options if you want like a hit scan in the game right now, even with her being nerfed. I don't think the nerfs really did anything. It kind of took away from one play style of her, but I still think she's solid. I think she's solid, but she's not like top tier worthy. I don't think she's worth a ban. I don't think she's worth a first pick. But she's always there if you want like a really solid like hit scan option and you're really solid with her. She's pretty easy to play. Kind of a brain dead champion still, but I think the reason why she's not as good is just because everybody's stacking Haven and Veteran mainly right now. Maeve. Oh man, I've been waiting for this day for a long time. I really have. Maeve's going to S tier. I think the biggest change out of all the flanks right now, I think the one that benefited the most from out of the Cauterize being removed from the item store and actually put into everybody's base kits is Maeve. And she got a really cool skin this patch. I don't know if you guys see that as well. She got a really, really cool skin. Even though I didn't really want a Maeve skin, it looks great, and I love the skin. Probably one of my new favorite Maeve skins, if I'm being honest. It's great. Being able to stack Chronos out of spawn for Maeve is absolutely huge. I cannot stress how huge it is. If you guys play Maeve, if you're like a Maeve man like me, like Maeve's my most played champion in the game, and my most played flank. If you play her like even like once in a while, like you know how huge it is, not having to stack Cauterize out of spawn. It's huge. I think if you want a really solid and really, 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 really good flank right now, Maeve is what you're looking at. I really do. She's crazy good. Just being able to just not have to worry about Cauterize, you go right into a Chronos. Like you can pick whatever you want. I would say Chronos every time, majority of the time, unless you're going against a lot of like heavy CC or stuff like that. Just really, really good. Really good poke damage, really good damage with like Cat Burglar. The only thing I would not run is like Street Justice because that's kind of a troll / throw talent, but I think she really only still has one viable talent, which is kind of Cat Burglar. I think Street Justice needs a bit of a rework, but apart from that, she's crazy good right now. I'd actually put her on a level of like an Andro. If you know what you're doing, she's probably even better than Androxus right now. I think she's probably one of the top 3 flanks in the game that's not really ban worthy, but you're going to be picking her and seeing her in a lot of your games with how good she is. And it is a really good time to be a person that plays a shit ton of Maeve or like really likes playing her. So really good right now. Makoa. Makoa, B tier. Nothing with Makoa has changed. They buffed some of his loadout cards, and that's about it. And I think they reduced some of his fall-off damage. Nothing with Makoa has changed. He's still trash. There you go. I'll save you guys 5 minutes, and I'll just skip over him. Maldamba, fallen off. Maldamba has fallen off, guys. Probably out of all the supports in the game, the reason why Maldamba has fallen off is because everybody just stacks resilience. Half of his kit is CC. His ult is CC, his stun is CC, and his heals aren't really the best when everybody has Cauterize, especially if you're running like Ripened Gourd. The only thing he really has is movement speed and his loadout cards on his heal, and that's not really enough to justify picking him. I'm going to put him in an A tier because he can work. I'm actually going to move him down to B tier. I don't think he's that good. I'm going to move him down to B tier. I don't think he's even worth an A tier. I really don't. I think he's actually below average. He's kind of suffering right now just because of the item changes. I think out of all the supports, he's the one that's got hit the most. Just because everybody can stack resilience and his heals really aren't the greatest when everybody else has Cauterize now. That's the problem with him. Moji, you guys know where Moji's going. She's going right to F tier. There you go. That's where she's going. It's moving on. Let's move on. Octavia, A tier. Nothing with Octavia's really changed. Nothing with her's really changed. She's kind of your average DPS, and it's always going to be that way because there's nothing that really makes her different than a lot of the other DPS in the game right now. Kind of just average. Pip. Oh man, Pip's garbage. Pip is garbage. Pip got buffed this patch, but at the same time, he got some huge nerfs. Cauterized, with everybody having Cauterized now, makes him by like default insanely worse. He's really bad. He's just awful. That's the problem with Pip. He's awful. I just think he needs like an entire like hitbox rework. I think the one huge thing that's really holding him back is he's a walking head hitbox, and you just shoot at the guy and you're getting headshot damage and he gets deleted. Not to mention now you can't even sustain yourself because everybody has Cauterized. When before like it was still even hard to play him. I think the only reason you play him now is if you're insanely good with him, or if you pick him into like an insanely good comp to pick him into that has a really good matchup with him, playing him into. I wouldn't say he's like bad as Moji or Grohk, but man, he's awful. Either rework his entire hitbox or rework his entire kit. His ultimate used to be probably the best thing about him, and now it's not even that good because everybody just picks Resilience and you get no value out of it. You're lucky to get one kill with his ult anyways now, so. I don't know. Overall, he's just not good. Overall, just not good right now. He's awful. Pip is still awful, even with the buffs. Up next, we got Raum. I'm gonna put Raum in B tier. I don't think he's good. Do not think Raum is really that good anymore. I really don't. There's just too much in the game that checks him. There really is. And everybody having Cauterized now, you can barely ever get any heals. The only way you're gonna get heals is if you just stay out of combat. It's just not worth picking him right now. There's a lot of checks to him in the game. Azzan being put in the game as well, with him being put into ranked. He's a pretty hefty check to Raum. Just knocking him around is pretty much doing whatever you want with him. I just don't think he's that good. Unless you pick him into like a really specific team, that's about it. Ray, I think Ray is solid as in a double support. I'm gonna put Ray at an A+. I think she's A+ tier. As a solo support, you gotta run Focus. I think Focus is really underrated for Ray. I really do. If you want to run Ray, I think Focus is the way you go. You just skip Extension because you're not getting enough heals and you go Focus. I think that's the way to play her as a solo support right now. Apart from that, if you want to run her on a double support, I think that's where she is best, and she works the best on a double support comp. She's still really good, and she's gotten nerfed recently again as well, but I think she's still really solid. Ruckus. I'm actually putting Ruckus in D tier. I think he's awful. Everybody being able to stack Wrecker, everybody just being able to shit all over you. I just don't think he's that good. There's just so many better options as a tank in the game. There's just no reason to pick Ruckus, and that's the huge problem with him right now. He's awful. Putting him in D tier. The only way you're going to be picking Ruckus is if you're going against a team that has like pretty much no mobility and can just like run at people and just kind of shit on people and without them really doing anything to you, which is really rare, and not being like having the entire team turn on you and focus you, which is insanely rare. Once in a great while you have that type of team you'll be going against, but that's just incredibly rare, and that's the only reason I'm not putting him in F tier. Saati. Man, here's what everybody else has been waiting for. Where am I going to put Saati at? Believe it or not, guys, I do not think Saati is worth a ban anymore. I really don't. I do not think Saati is worth a ban. I think that they actually nerfed Improvise now to where it's a lot less spammable, and it's a lot easier to deal with, where to the point where you don't have to really stack. You can just have to buy, like, Illuminate, and that's all you really have to buy for her. But apart from that, like, I just don't think she's really worth a ban. I may be crazy, and I may be just being taking, like, shots and, like, shot in the dark and stuff like that, but like from the ranked games I've played, like I haven't really even been banning Saati, and she's been getting through in the enemy teams been getting her, and she hasn't really been doing anything. She's kind of just there. She's still really good, but I just don't think she's like crazy tier good anymore. So I don't know. I just don't think she's worth a ban. I think she's still really good, but if you're going out of your way to ban Saati over a lot of the other stuff right now, I think you're kind of just wasting a ban, if I'm being honest. I've actually got Seris. I think Seris is really falling off. I'm putting Seris B tier. The only way you're going to be picking Seris is just if you're if you do not know how to play like any of the other sports, if you're a newer player or if you want something really easy to play, she has fallen off so much with everybody getting cauterized. You have about 10 minutes to where you actually heal your team, and after that, you're legit pretty much useless. You bring nothing to a team apart from an alt, and you're just pretty much a heal bot. That's the problem with Seris. You're just a heal bot. You bring no other utility apart from maybe an alt. That's it. That is the huge problem with Seris, and that's why I'm not going to move her any higher. She's B tier. She's really easy to play, but she's not worth a ban, and she's not worth a pick over like any of the other supports right now. Shalin, doo-doo doggy tier, D tier on console. Maybe if it was PC it would be different, but even more so now. Yeah, it's cool that you don't have to stack Cauterize out of spawn, but now everybody even has an extra open item slot to stack Illuminate, so you're screwed again. You take one step forward for yourself, but everybody else has a one-up on you again, so you're kind of screwed. If you pick Shalin, like half the enemy team is going to pick Resilience into you, and or not Resilience. I guess Resilience for your Crippling Arrow, but like you're going to pick Illuminate into you, and half your kit's going to be pretty much countered by Illuminate. So now you have to play like a god tier Shalin anyways. If you play like an average or worse Shalin, you're just going to feed your ass off, and you're better off just picking something else, for at least for a projectile. There's just no reason to play a Shalin over an Imani or a Cassie, put it that way. He's bad. He's bad on console, there you go. Sky, she got some movement speed buffs, and I think she got her health buffed, I think, from 2,000 up to 2,100. Is she good, guys? Is Sky good? She's going to A tier. And it's the same boat as Koga. I think I had her A tier last patch, too. The only reason I'm having her A tier is just because she kind of pub stomps your mid to low tier ranked games, like your gold tier games. But once you reach Platinum, I don't think she's worth a ban. I really don't. Maybe in your gold games you can ban her just because you might know how to deal with her, but she'll just farm your entire team. But I just don't think Sky's that good. I think apart from that, like she even has a lower ceiling now, at least like rank-wise. It's a lot harder to get away with her, and you have to play her a lot better to actually get away with her, even in those type of ranked games, in your lower tiers. I don't know. I think she needs some buffs. I really do. I think Sky needs to be buffed. But at the same time, I don't really want her being buffed because every time she gets buffed, then I have to play her ranked with an entire team of like losers, and she just farms my entire team, and I get stuck on a team that gets farmed by a Sky. So I don't know. She's kind of just there, average. I'll put her at average. That's being generous. I think she's at least worth an average right now. She's not any worse or any less. Strix. Oh man. I'll put Strix. I think Strix is really bad, actually. I think he's really bad. The only reason you're picking Strix is if Kinessa's banned or picked, and if you're picking him on one of his good maps. I actually wish we had Widowmaker in the game. Can we please get Widowmaker in the game and swap Strix out for Widowmaker, please? That would be great. Awful. I'm not going to talk about it very much because I ranted on him last year. Let's go check that one out. But he needs an entire rework. He's garbage. 3 awful talents, probably one of the worst ultimates in the game. And he's even worse now because everybody stacks Haven, so you're even doing less damage if you don't get headshots. If you don't know how to land headshots, man, you're going to be struggling because you're only doing like 900 damage now with everybody stacking Haven 3 out of spawn and Veteran. So there you go. Awful. Apart from maybe 3 or 4 maps, or if Kinessa is somehow picked or banned on those maps. That's the only way you're going to be picking them. Talus got actually a rework to one of his talents. I'm gonna put him at 8 tier. I think he's kind of the same boat as Koga, Sky, and the same boat as those two. Same thing, same explanation for both of those two. Drops off once he gets like platinum, and that's kind of where he is. Apart from that, like I would ban him in those tiers, but if you get above gold, I wouldn't waste a ban on him. Not much has really changed. Not really much has changed with Koga or with Talus. Terminus. Going right up to SS tier, broken tier. Probably the second tank in the game right now that is legit busted, and I do not know how Terminus did not get any type of nerfs. How did Terminus not go with the entire patch, the last 3 patches, without getting any nerfs? You can stack Nimble 2 out of spawn now without even having to worry about Cauterize. You can stack Wrecker, you can stack Haven, Veteran, like anything you want. Anything you want out of spawn, it's yours. And you just fucking run at people. People don't know how to play against him, and you need to ban him every single game. He is still worth a ban almost every single one of your ranked games with how good he is. He really is. He really is. I just don't know how they have went like 3 patches now without even nerfing Terminus. And if anything, he's probably the best he's ever been without having to even buy Cauterize. Now he can just stack Nimble out of spawn and be good. So there you go. Ban him almost every single one of your games. If he's somehow not banned, you pick him and you just run at people and you win your games. There you go. Simple 1-2 explanation. Tiberius. I'm putting Tiberius at an A+ tier. I think he's above average. Kind of the same tier as Imani right now. He did get a little bit better just because you don't have to stack Cauterize. You can actually go right into a Chronos out of spawn, which is huge for Tiberius. I think that he is a little bit better than last patch, but not really enough to bump him up any higher. Still just kind of your typical, like your typical projectile that can just burst people down. Combat Trance is still pretty good, even though it got nerfed, I think, 2 patches ago. Still solid. If you can play Tiberius decently, you can do pretty good with him. He's not bad. He's not good. He's kind of just above average right now. Kind of the same boat as Imani and some of the other DPS champions. Torvald got buffed again, and he's still garbage. I can tell you right now, Torvald's going right to D tier. Needs an entire rework, and until Torvald gets an entire rework or like some game-breaking, like legit, like I'm gonna buff you to the moon, and I just don't care if you're the best champion in the game type buffs. He is gonna be legit awful. I'm not going to talk about him anymore. You guys know how bad Torvald is. And the only reason I'm not putting him at a D tier is because he can work. If you have a really snowbally like death ball comp and you plan to end the game in about 10 to 12 minutes, and that is your sole priority, he can work on that type of team. But apart from that, he's garbage. He's awful. Probably one of the worst champions in the game. He's borderline F tier. I think he's going to be probably the next champion that drops to F tier, along with the other 3, or the other 2. Tyra. Tyra got some huge buffs. Provision is really good on Tyra. I think Tyra is actually S tier right now. Probably one of the best hit scans in the game, alongside Victor. Provision actually is really good on her. You can stack Nimble, you can stack Wrecker really well on her. She builds a lot of the items really, really well without having to build Cauterize. So overall, it's really easy to play. Burn Monster is still insanely annoying and actually broken. I don't know how that's never been nerfed. Really good. Just really good. I'm not going to talk about her very much because not really much has changed. Apart from she got a new item that's actually really good with Provision, and she doesn't have to worry about stacking Caught anymore out of spawn. Vatu going to A tier, average. The reason why I'm not going to put him higher is because nobody knows how to really play him. If you know how to play Vatu, you can actually steamroll and probably carry your games if you play a really good Vatu. But I just don't see enough people playing Vatu, him getting picked, let alone him actually being played to the level that he actually can carry a game. If I do see him being picked, he kind of just feeds and doesn't really do anything. So at least from my experience, what I've seen so far, I don't know. If you can play him, I think he can be good. He's not really bad, but the only reason I'm putting him in A tier is because you have to play him really well to get a lot of value out of him. And there's just a lot of other flanks that are a lot easier to play, and you'll probably do a lot better with and get a lot more value out of. Victor. Same boat as Tyra. I got some huge buffs. Builds Wrecker insanely well. Actually builds Provision. One of the only champs in the game that actually builds Provision pretty damn good with the new item. Gives you a shit ton of ammo back. Like half your clip gets refunded to you if you get an assist or a kill, which is insane. Same with Tyra. Really good. Builds Wrecker insanely well. You can build Nimble, you build Haven, Life Rip. Anything you want out of spawn, it's yours. He builds everything really well. There you go. Really good. I think Tyra and Victor right now are probably the 2 best hit scans in the game, which hasn't really changed from cons. I guess Saati's in there as well, but overall, it's really, really good. Vivian, on the other hand, going right to B tier. I think she's okay. But at the same time, I just don't. I think she's a little bit better not having to build Cauterize because you can actually build Nimble, which is kind of good for her. Apart from that, like I don't think she's that good. I really don't. I'll put her B tier, and that's to be generous. But I think she needs some type of rework or some major buffs. And when she actually was really good, she was a pain in the ass to play against. So they just can't go buffing her willy-nilly and just expect her to actually do anything. They have to buff her and actually be careful on what they're doing. Vora. Vora actually got nerfed this patch as well. Got nerfed. I don't know. I think she's really good. I'm going to put her at an A+ tier. I think if you can play a good Vora, you can still get away with her. I think the reason why I'm not going to put her higher than an A+ is because she does kind of struggle now because everybody has Cauterize. She has some self-sustain loadout cards any in her kit that kind of get cauterized or countered by that as well. And it's a lot harder to kill stuff right now just because everybody's just... If you get turned on, like, you're dead. You have to go in and you have to get in like a free kill and get out. She has the mobility, she has the ability to do so, but you have to play her really good to get value out of her. I think she is a A+ tier worthy, and I think they decreased her projectile size on her main weapon as well. So it's a little bit harder to land some of your shots. I haven't really noticed it too much, but there are some times where you'll be able to like kind of miss. You can kind of aim at somebody and they'll somehow miss, even though they don't look like they did. So it kind of changed a little bit. So you do need a little bit better aim with her as well, because she did get her projectile size nerfed on her main weapon. Willow. She may have got a new skin, but that doesn't make her any better. She's garbage. I think she's even more garbage right now. She's actually borderline F tier. She is the 4th champion that actually is teetering on the line of being F tier, because the one niche she had was with dead zone, and that was being able to throw it on a dead zone on the point and not being able to have like having an ability that prevents people from healing, and that's pretty much virtually useless now. So she's even worse somehow, and she's on like the border of like dropping to an F tier. She is trash. She may have got a new skin, but she's fucking garbage, and you will never be playing it because she's so bad. There you go. Yaggareth. Gotten heavily nerfed this patch. I actually think Yaggareth's only like an A+ tier. I think she got really heavily nerfed. And everybody having cauterized now. Man, it is really difficult to sustain as a Yaggareth. It is difficult to play her right now. It is really difficult unless you have like a coordinated team and like a really, really good team to make her work. I'm going to put her at an A+ tier. Actually, I'm going to move her down to an A tier. I don't think she's that good. I'm going to move her to an A tier. I think she's kind of fallen off. She really has. It is really difficult to make her work. It really is. You have to have an entire team built around her, and you have to play really good to make her work. Ying. I'm going to put Ying in an A+ tier. I really am. I think she's still good, but her ult really isn't as good as it was last patch. Like I said, because everybody has cauterized now, but overall, as like a solo support, if you run like a full support build, she can work. Just don't play a solo support Ying and pick fucking damage in my ranked games, please, because that's you're legit throwing. Please don't do that. You're just throwing your matches. I mean, I guess she's okay. She's a little bit better because you can stack either morale boost or Chronos out of spawn and not have to worry about picking up cauterized later on. She's a little bit better, but at the same time, you were never doing that out of spawn anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And then we got Xin. I think Zin's really good. I'm going to put Xin in an S tier. One of the only flanks in the game that actually has its own ability to get out of cauterize for, I think it's 2 seconds. I think it can go up to 2 seconds. You can get out of cauterize for 2 seconds and get a clutch full health heal with your Billow, which is crazy good. People are underestimating how good Billow is. They really are. How good just being able to do that is. I don't know. I think he does really good damage numbers. Guillotine is still great. Yomi's still great. Smolder's still really solid. 3 good talents that are all justifiable in running depending on your playstyle. Really good damage numbers. Able to dive a backline and get out freely and get a clutch heal. As long as your support is playing with you, which I guess can be a lot of to ask if you're playing solo queue. But overall, if you know what you're doing on Zen, you can do really well. I think he's really solid. He's one of the better flanks in the game. He's not on the level of like an Andro or like a Maeve right now, in my opinion, but I think he's definitely, if 2 of those are either picked or banned for some reason, I think you're looking at Zayn as like a 3rd, probably best flank in the game. I guess apart from Lex, probably 4th, but at least for cons right now, I think that's kind of what we're looking at. And here's the entire list, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like, keep in mind, this is a 100% opinionated list. Meaning, if you do not agree with me on something, let me know why, and let me know your opinions in the comments down below. Leave a like, subscribe, share the video. It would really help me out if you guys want me to keep doing these types of videos. Thanks for all the support on the channel, guys. Really appreciate it. Got a 7 guide on the way. Got some ranked videos, some ranked guide videos on the way. So if you do not want to miss those, stay in touch with the channel and keep up with the channel. Apart from that, I'm going to get out of here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for stopping by, and another tier list for Season 5, the first patch of the season in the books. Feels like forever since we did the last one, but hopefully you guys enjoyed. Peace out, and I'll see you guys in a future video.